Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm a tree.
And this is your weekly podcast, exploring the lives of the great poisoners and macabre murders from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 142.
It is. And I'm actually Nick. Hello.
Yes. Okay, explain. Nick and I warm up a little bit. We have a little bit of a chat before we start recording. And just before we start, Nick drops into conversation, I was a tree once. It was very unpleasant.
It wasn't just like I was a tree once.
It's exactly what you said.
No. We were sort of doing a limbering up thing and you said, be a tree. And I was like, I was a tree once. So it wasn't just like chat. I was a tree. End of conversation.
I thought this was a I to break it to you. Well, what's context and stories and tell?
I was very unexciting. Well,
Let us be the judge of that.
I went to a drama school, you see. I'm very fancy.
Any excuse to drop that into conversation.
I went to a very fancy drama school, you know. I did technical theatre.
Yes.
But on our first day of technical theatre, we got lumbered with all the acty people.
Oh, good.
Big old musical theatre courses and acting courses and things. And we got sent around various rooms to do like induction-y things and stuff like that. And then we got sent into a room with a random acty person, one of the tutors.
A tutor, an acting tutor.
An acting tutor. And he was like, right, we're going to warm up. Everyone be a tree. And all the musical theatre and acting people were going, oh, I'm a tree, I'm a willow, I'm an oak. And all the technical people were going, what the fuck's going on here?
So you weren't actually a tree. You didn't get cast. I thought you were going to say in a primary school play.
No, I was emoting a tree.
And that was traumatizing enough for you.
Dreadful experience.
I can just imagine you as a tree.
I know. And then we also, all the really awkward people who were like, no, we're here to like play with lights and build things and paint stuff. Going and sort of they're going,
yeah, I'm picturing you as the most unenthusiastic tree copist.
Yeah, absolutely. None of this. I'll paint you a tree. I'll light you a tree. I can do a tree sound effect.
Can
you? That, not a bother.
Right. Sounds like you were the wanker in that group. It's like, no, I can do everything apart from be a tree.
Apart from be an actual tree. Anyway, moving on from that weird thing.
But how are you, Nick, otherwise? Because we've missed you.
Oh, yes, I'm back. Hello, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for your lovely messages.
Now, you've been ill.
I was a bit poorly for a bit, but I'm well now. I mean, nothing scary poorly.
Just very bad flu.
Just a bit of flu that knocked me out for a week. So thank you so much for sticking with us. I hope you enjoyed the Patreon episode that we put out. Well, Sinead put out because I was in bed going,
Me frantically doing the admin behind, pulling all the levers and letting off the steam behind the curtain. Like,
that's how it works. That's how it works usually, to be honest. I just stroll up with a cocktail and go, are you ready?
You are like in Futurama hedonism bot. You were on a litter made of solid gold.
I can get on board with that. Yeah, absolutely. Someone feed me grapes.
Wonderful. Any poisonings this week?
Well, only the bastard who gave me a cold.
Yeah. Oh! You've actually accomplished that. That's good.
So
you've struck them from the face of the earth.
Well, yeah, I've struck many people, just in case, because you'd never be exactly sure who it was. So just get rid of a lot of them.
Good. This is the first time you've admitted to mass poisoning.
And also, I think I may have spread on the fluness to other people.
Oh, good.
So they could be dying as well.
We're off on a roll already.
I mean, it's downhill from here, really, isn't it?
No, it's great because you having a week off and being very sick, you're now full of energy, full of vim and pip.
It also means this is actually the first cocktail I've had in over a week.
Yes, because
this is the first drink I've had in over a week.
Oh dear God!
Because last week when we were recording last week, I wasn't because I was poorly, so I didn't drink.
Okay, Nick. When we recorded last week, we didn't record last week.
Oh, I'm now confused.
What?
What day is it? Why am I here? What's going on?
Well, we have a pre-cocktail cocktail.
I've had half a cocktail.
A Negroni. But also, I think your brain cells are still recovering from the sickness. You don't know where you are or what's happening.
I haven't had a cocktail since last time we recorded an episode. So
that's
2 weeks
one.
ago. 2 weeks ago. Oh. So I've had like 2 mouthfuls of Negroni and I've gone insane.
Which means it's going to be a splendid episode,
means I'm a cheap
everyone.
date.
Well, people DM us. Well, speaking of being a tree occasionally and being a cheap date, I think it is time for us to thank our delicious, always expensive Patreon subscribers.
We most certainly should. Thank you very much to Rebel Mech Wolf.
To Lisa Marie Hawkins.
To Jen.
To Alicia Cunningham Bryant.
Diane Trapp.
to Kayla,
to Michelle Brown, to Michelle Bowen,
and to Amy. Thank you, beautiful, beautiful, sexy Patreon subscribers.
Yes, indeed. And I believe we have some variety of shouting out to do.
We do. We have a shout out for Alexandra, a fan of the show who is celebrating their birthday on the 22nd of January.
Merry birthdays.
Merry birthday. Have a lovely birthday. Enjoy your trip to Florence.
Well, that's exciting. Can
Go
I
to
go to Florence?
Oh, can we come?
I want to go to Florence.
Yeah. Can we just squeeze into your suitcase?
Yeah, we can do that.
Squeeze
Go to
into your
Florence.
travelling trunk. The two of us getting in there. Like,
Yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
need these clothes, you just need us.
None of that. None of that.
We'll dress you while we're over there. We'll go to all of the beautiful shops in Florence. I'm not selling this trip well.
It's not going well. No, I want to go to Venice. I want to do the Carnival of Venice. No, the big carnival with
Yeah, with the
masks.
masks.
Yeah. I think that'd be quite exciting.
Because it's sinking. It's sinking and it smells over there.
Yeah, well, don't go when it's underwater. I'm not saying I'm going to go to Venice in 100 years.
All right. I admire optimism.
I'm thinking prior to that.
Well, we should go.
Carnival.
Listeners, do you guys want to come with us? We'll all just go to the carnival.
Oh,
We'll just
carnival.
agree a day, a year we're going,
Get
and
some
we'll just...
big old masks going on.
Oh, and you won't know who we are, except that you definitely will. But we won't know who you are.
Today's going around with a big alarm gong. Going, arsenic, arsenic. It's like subtle, really subtle.
I like it. Let's go. It is a date. So, Alexandra, when you're done with Florence, go to Venice and wait for our instructions.
Yes, wait for us there. We'll be in touch.
Well, Nick, are you ready?
God, no.
To drink cocktails and talk about poison?
Yeah.
Or we could drink some poison and we could talk about some
No,
cocktails.
I've been missing a cocktail. I
you
want them all.
Fired up.
Come on!
To the point. No, everything's fine. There might be some problems later.
Yeah,
but-
might be.
And it's your episode. I am going to enjoy the show, people. Let's go with the first one. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. Nick's story, so his pick. This week's secret ingredient is...
His eyes.
Eyes. The eyes have it.
Eyes have it. The eyes are looking at you.
I don't like this.
Big old spooky eyes.
Big old spooky eyes swiddled in your drink.
Absolutely.
All right, there's all sorts of things.
Care to elaborate on your things?
My brain suddenly goes into overload and starts going, okay, say things that involve eyes.
Eyes.
So I go, the eye of Sauron. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. That classic murder tale.
And then the next thing I thought of eyes, you know that scene in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom where the guy eats the sheep's eye? That.
That's not pleasant.
No! It's a miracle I'm married.
Yeah, no. The eye soup.
No, it's where he gets a sheep's... Oh, no, I'm thinking of James Bond.
Yeah, no.
James, it's Octopussy. And the eye soup is in the Temple of Doom.
The Temple of Doom. There's a soup with eyes. No one wants to eat an eye. I've never eaten an eye. I don't want to eat an eye.
No, I've never eaten an eye. Eyes, okay, so physical eyes. Ooh, that would be
Eyes.
scary in a cocktail. Or the eye of the beholder, an all-seeing eye. The letter I.
The letter I.
I may have gotten it wrong.
Wouldn't that be disappointing? If it was just like the letter I. I is for ice. Ice is used in cocktails.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past you. I know you've been ill and you're like, this is all I can manage.
Here you have some ice.
What have you come up with?
We are having an eye opener.
I love it. That's
I
brilliant.
might too.
How many more eye puns should we expect?
I
don't know.
I don't know.
I couldn't possibly tell you.
Shush now.
Well, something that will wake us up.
Well,
Sober you up with more drink.
sober. Unlikely.
I am so excited. I'm so happy. I think it is high time for us to shimmy into the Poisoner's Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm, so we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
Well, Nick, eye opener.
An eye opener.
And it is yellowy.
It is eye-opening.
Yeah, it's a very bold and thick drink.
Bold colour.
It's not a clear yellow.
No.
It's a thick gloopy yellow.
Opaque yellow.
Is that what you call it?
An opaque yellow. Not a thick, gloopy yellow.
Are you just practicing for the fact that you've got an interior designer coming around for Saturday?
Push yourself. Well, yes, I would like thick, gloopy colours, please.
I'd like it to be opaque. I don't want my walls to be see-through. No. And back to the cocktail.
Back to the cocktail.
But it is. It's thick and gloopy. Paint-like, if you will.
Is it gloopy?
I keep saying thick because clearly my brain stopped working.
It doesn't seem particularly thick.
It makes me kind of go, I don't know, I'm going like eggnog or something.
Eggnog.
Eggnog.
I can tell. It is not eggnog.
No. Is it got
I'll give
any
you that.
egg in it?
You'll find out. Who knows?
Okay. All right, I think we should dive in then. And good luck to you,
Good
Nick.
luck.
But also Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. Okay. Good mouthfeel.
Good. Happy.
Good mouthfeel. What's going on? Nutty. It's got something nutty and alcohol-y in there. Yeah, it's thick. It's a thick snack.
I don't think it's thick.
It is compared to what we normally have. There's something that has a consistency.
The consistency
The viscosity is not high.
is high.
It's more viscous than usual.
Yes, but that's what everyone loves in a cocktail.
No.
I would like my cocktails more viscous than usual, please.
Yes. If your bartender can't respond to that request, then he should not have his job, sir.
Absolutely.
No.
I find it very pleasant.
It's very pleasant. There's quite I want to say harsh, which I may revise that word later, alcohol feel at the start. First off, like it's a really high percentage alcohol, and you get that hit immediately.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah. But I'm really foxed by that. Something floral. I don't know if it's nutty, but there's something thick in there.
There's something
Have you used the pistachio?
I have not.
Oh, god damn it. I didn't think it tasted pistachio, otherwise it'd be rolling on the floor in happiness. But is there egg in it?
There is an egg.
There's an egg.
There's an egg.
There's an egg. Oh, is it a flip?
There is an egg yolk. It doesn't have a whole egg. A flip generally has a whole egg white yolk.
Oh,
lot.
everything. Oh, okay.
This just has a yolk.
Ooh.
So this just has a yolk.
Okay, so that's the eggy
That's the eggy
thickness.
That's the eggy and the colour as well.
Yes, okay.
I feel is eggy yolky based.
So we've got an egg yolk. Nice.
Yeah.
Protein.
There is more than that.
I would hope.
Give me one spirit.
Is it a clear spirit?
There is a clear spirit in there.
Rum.
Yes.
Rum's in it. Rum. Yep.
It is a slightly aged rum, so it's not entirely cleared. It's got a bit of. It's 3 years barrel aged. The one I've used.
Oh, okay. Nice.
That is the base. Absolutely. We have very nearly there. When you said something nutty,
Yes.
we do have Disaronno.
Oh.
We have an almond liqueur in here. Now the actual recipe for this calls for particularly it's a creme de noix. Liqueur,
Yes.
which I do not have. It has an almondy taste to it. It's not made of almonds. It's actually made from the kernels of various
Apricots,
fruits,
isn't it?
apricots
Yeah.
and peaches and things like that.
As
Make it
is Disaronno.
well, yeah, absolutely. So it's got a slightly pinky colour to it. It's creme de noix. So I've just used a Disaronno because that's what I had in the cupboard, and I wasn't able to get any creme de noix in time. We have a bit of curacao, a bit of orange
Ooh, nice.
going in there.
Yeah.
A drop of sugar syrup, and a couple of dashes of the absinthe. Which I'm very surprised actually on this one. Because I find generally, even if it's a dash of absinthe, I can taste it. I know it's there. This one is a lot more subtle than I would expect from a drink with absinthe in.
But I do think that's the harsh alcohol that I
Maybe.
thought at the start. I'm not trying to like blow my own trumpet going, I knew from the start. I didn't know it was absinthe. And then now as soon as you said it, I've gone, oh, it's the aniseed there. But there was quite a powerful
Bit of a
taste of
kick.
something, which wasn't unpleasant, but you were like, ooh, okay. Don't know what this is, but I like it. I like it.
Shaken together with an egg yolk, which gives it the mouthfeel. I quite like that.
Well, I have two thoughts on it. The first thought is there's a lot going on
Yeah.
here, and we're not big fans of stuff that has a lot going on generally, but this seems to work.
I mean, there's not a huge amount going on. You've got three base
quite a
ingredients.
few.
Well, you've got rum, creme de noix, curacao, and an egg yolk.
and absinthe.
And the absinthe is a dash, like you would have a bitter. It's not so it's not as crazy as some cocktails we've had. Curacao and the creme de noix, they are in very, very small quantities.
Okay.
Looking at 1/6 of an ounce against an ounce and a half of the rum.
Ooh,
So it's
sorry.
very, very short, small quantities, but you can taste them in there. It does make a difference.
Definitely. The second thought I had was, given that you had 2 sips of Negroni and went insane, you thought introducing absinthe into this
Yeah,
mix...
To be perfectly honest, I had not considered how insane I would go after the first Negroni.
Nor did Hemingway.
This cocktail had been planned for a couple of days prior to this, and the impact of the Negroni had not been fully considered.
Buckle up, kids. Well, we have the eye-opener firmly in hand. We are wide awake. Our eyes are open because we're ready to solve a crime.
Oh, yes.
Is it time for a story, Nick?
It most certainly is, and I hope you are going to solve this one.
Woo!
So today we're going to pay a visit to Mr. Richard Greenwood.
Okay.
Mr. Richard Greenwood, the 70-year-old Richard, he lives just north of Manchester. In the small town of Harfrey. It's a delightful little place. He lives in, a very nice little semi-detached house with his elderly and quite frail wife, Mary Ann. They have a live-in servant, the 18-year-old Sarah Jane Roberts, who looks after them in their old age. Now, Sarah Jane she's from Pembroke in Wales, but in 1878 she moves to the north of England to join her older brother and find a job in service, a bit of a better life that she would have in rural Wales. A year after she moves, she finds this position with Mr. and Mrs. Greenwood. Now, the quiet little town of Harfrey is not quite the exciting city life that Sarah Jane had envisioned. Going to Manchester, it's a big bustling city.
Oh,
fun things are going to happen. She's going to meet lots of people, but she's a few miles out of town in quite a sedate little. This is where people are going to die.
Well, she did not read the brochure.
It's
then.
not. It's but it's a job and it's a good job with nice people.
Yes.
So, but she goes, oh yeah, I'm fine. It's not demanding. A role, why the hell not? And from Richard and Mary Ann's point of view, they have found a very pleasant and hard-working servant to look after them. They think of her as part of the family. Yes, one that does all the work and that they pay, but still part of the family. Maybe it's like a second cousin type thing going on
that no one really likes.
that no one really likes.
We'll pay you to clean our house, but we still see you as family. Please leave when we have guests.
Yes, absolutely. You can't join us for dinner, but one of the family, absolutely. Now clean over the whole house. One of the family. But the Greenwoods, they have made provision for Sarah Jane in their will. So absolutely. So they are quite committed to her. But it was also, they did that so she would stay with them in their old age.
Yes.
They've got no children locally or anything like that. They're by themselves.
They want someone who can trust.
They want someone they can trust, who's going to look after them and be there as they get older. Set her up in the will.
It's a cushy job as well.
Cushy job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It works for everyone. Now, 2 years pass quite uneventfully. Really, in the Greenwood house, everyone goes on about their business and all is entirely marvellous. But then on the 7th of January 1880, now Richard's, his old business partner, a Mr. Cooper, comes to pay a visit to his friend. Sarah Jane opens the door, and when she does, she notices a letter lying on the mat. And she thinks it's slightly odd. The postman had already been that day. That letter had not been delivered, so where has it come from? She picks it up, and she notices that it doesn't have a stamp on it. So someone has obviously hand delivered it, but not bothered to ring the doorbell and hand it in to the maid or anything like that. Just sort of left it on the doorstep and scarpered.
Just frisbee it across the lawn.
Yeah, pretty much. Just chuck it on the doorstep and be gone. Now, the letter is addressed to Mr. Greenwood, and when she escorts Mr. Roberts in, she hands the letter over to her boss. Now, Richard, he opens the letter, quite curious about who would have left a note to him. The note reads, Mr. Greenwood, I want to take the land near the coal yard behind the druggist shop, Queen's Road. I will pay either monthly, quarterly or yearly, and will pay in advance, and will meet you tonight from 5 to 6 o'clock at the 3 Tons, corner of Churchner Street, and will tell you all the particulars. I don't know your address, or I would have posted it. Yours, W. Wilson.
Okay.
So, Mr. Greenwood, he owns some land around town.
I was going to say, because otherwise this is just weird.
No, absolutely. He owns...
I want to tell you about the land I'm going to buy.
He's been a successful businessman in his youth. He owns some land around town. Obviously, someone is interested in renting or buying this property that he owns.
But it does seem quite reasonable, quite specific. Here's a location.
Richard reads the note a few times. He can't think of Hugh W. Wilson, certainly not an old business contact or anything like that. But it was relatively common that Richard owned some land around town, so it wasn't surprising that someone would know that it was him who owned the land behind the coal yard. And it wasn't particularly uncommon for people to seek him out every now and again to want to rent a property or to buy something or things like that. What was a little peculiar, though, he thought, was that in the letter that this mystery W. Wilson claimed to not have known where Richard lived, so he couldn't post the note, but knew exactly where he lived in order to hand deliver the note. So that was commented upon. Actually, it's a bit weird. You're written that you don't know where I am, so I can't post it, but I've left it on your doorstep.
What?
So that's a bit.
Because I was going to say, like, you could get someone else to drop it off and say, do you know where he lives? And if that person was like, I'm not comfortable giving you their address, so maybe I'll drop this off. But also, that's weird.
It's a bit weird,
Also,
absolutely.
you'd knock on the door saying this person wants your bloody address.
Absolutely.
I don't know where you live, but I brought a letter to
I
brought
a letter to where you live. So everyone thinking, It's a
Did
bit
he leave
weird.
letters all over town in every doorstep going, please, please,
Yes,
be the
someone
person I
must
want?
own that land. So, Richard thinks it over. I mean, he's not overly keen to part with the land to buy the coal yard, but his wife Mary Ann says, well, just go and meet him. Go and meet this chap.
Yeah.
It's not gonna hurt. Have a chat in the pub, see what he's like, see what they're after. It's no bad thing to have a little extra cash coming into the household. The land's just sitting there unused. So he goes, oh fine, okay. I'll go. So at around 5 p.m, Richard Greenwood, he leaves the house and makes the sort of 20-minute walk to the 3 Tons pub to meet W. Wilson, whoever that may be. Richard arrives at the pub for his meeting and he inquires with the barman if he knows who this W. Wilson is. Has anyone come in saying they're here for a meeting with Richard Greenwood? Nope, no idea. No one has made it known they're here for a meeting. So Richard, he takes a spot in the pub, he sits down at a table and he waits.
Oh no, he's had to sit in the pub drinking.
So he sits in the pub. Yeah, he may well have had a drink, but he waits for this Wilson to arrive. He waits and he waits and he waits. 6 o'clock comes and still no W. Wilson. Now, which is really a bit annoyed by now. He's come out especially.
Okay.
No.
Suddenly I've thought of something. I've thought, I shouldn't say. No.
Oh, you've had a thought.
Yes, I've had a thought. It's shades of another case that we've covered before. But so he's in the pub and someone hasn't turned up and he's gone away from his home.
He's gone away from his home.
Okay.
And I mean, Richard, he's sitting there. He's rather annoyed. He's come out especially. No one's rocked up. Has he been stood up? Is he the victim of some stupid prank or some such?
He was holding a red rose.
Yeah, I mean, 20
He
past...
ordered a glass of wine.
It was going to be lovely.
It was so romantic. Oh, me, really, my land. Honestly, you'll have to convince me, sir.
20 past 6, he goes, bugger it, I'm going home. He tells the barman that if W. Wilson does appear, then he can tell him, Richard's gone home. Richard's gone home. If you want to see him, go to the house. You obviously know where it is. You left the note. So,
yeah.
Now, while Richard has been out waiting in the pub, dear old Mary Ann is sat at home. She's sat in her room on the first floor of the house. She's quite elderly, she's quite frail, she doesn't really leave her room much. It's customary the door to her bedroom is propped open so she can hear what's going on in the house. So she likes to keep an ear out,
yes.
see what's going on.
Nice to hear the
hustle and bustle of people going around their business and.
Or she's
such
got an ear
like.
trumpet in and she's going, I know you're after the silverware.
I know, exactly. I can hear you out there.
You haven't polished this knife properly.
And around 6:25, she hears a knock at the front door. She hears Sarah Jane answering and letting a guest in. She can't hear any conversation or anything like that, but later she does recall thinking that the visitor must have been a woman. That the footsteps were very light on the wooden floors downstairs. Okay. There weren't big heavy men's boots or anything like that. They were quite light footsteps. And Sarah Jane and the visitor, they go into the kitchen and the kitchen door closes. All is well.
Yeah, the previous picture of her kind of like, let's keep the door open so I can hear the hustle and bustle. She is there firmly with the ear trumpet, listening to everything, going, I could tell because of the pattern of the thing. They wouldn't speak up, god damn it.
They're in the kitchen for but a few moments.
Oh, okay, right.
Before a great scream echoes through the house. Now, Mary Ann is obviously jolted and horrified about this noise, and she gets to her feet and limps out of her bedroom onto the landing as fast as she could, calling out for Sarah Jane, asking what the matter is. The only response is another blood-curdling scream from the kitchen, and then silence. Mary Ann shuffles down the stairs as fast as she is able and goes straight for the front door. She flings it open and cries for help out into the street. Murder, murder, she cries. Now, next door lives Mr. and Mrs. Cadman. Mrs. Cadman had heard the scream through the relatively thin walls of the house, and she was already coming up the garden path when Mary Jane flung open the front door. Mrs. Cadman is there to see what is going on.
Yeah.
Mary Ann bursts out in panic, exclaiming, "There is something wrong in my kitchen!"
And he's shouting murder.
Murder, murder, there's something wrong in my kitchen.
Yes. My soup is split.
Yeah.
My creme anglaise did not come out the way I
custard has
intended.
split. Mrs. Cadman and her servant enter the house and they open the kitchen door. And there they find the kitchen empty and Sarah Jane Roberts lying on the floor with blood trickling from her head.
Ew.
Now, she is still gasping ragged breaths.
Oh, bless her.
And Mrs. Cadman's servant is sent quickly. Bring the doctor, alert the constable, go and get help. But there is nothing to be done. Within minutes, Sarah Jane dies on the kitchen floor without uttering a single word. Now, this whole sequence, from knock on the door to Sarah Jane lying dead, has taken no more than 10 to 15 minutes. Also, it's been a quick and brutal affair. And when Richard Greenwood arrives home at around about 6:40 from his aborted visit to the pub, neighbours are already gathering outside the house to see what all the commotion about, all this yelling and screaming. And there's quite a crowd that is gathering. Now, the surgeon, Mr. Pinder, soon arrives at the house. He's the one who's been summoned to hopefully heal Sarah Jane. She's now dead. And he declares the cause of death to be repeated heavy blows to the head from a blunt instrument.
Genius.
Everyone goes, yes, that is probably the case. Though he does also declare that the weapon is nowhere to be found.
Jeez, well done, him.
Well, and then he leaves. I've done my job. I've done my job well.
Just leave? Thank God he was here.
Absolutely. What would we have done without you?
Yes, it appears
Mr.
she's
Pinder.
clubbed to death. And also, I can't find the weapon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Disappears into the night going, I am such a good doctor.
So good.
I'm so good. They
Leaving-
would have been fucked without me.
Yeah, leaving his bill on the side, probably. as he
It'll be
goes.
£7 million,
Yeah.
please.
Now, Superintendent Beck takes charge of the investigation.
Good name, Beck.
Yeah, Superintendent
like
Beck.
it, like it.
And soon officers are knocking on doors to try and find any witnesses they can to what may have occurred. They find a Mr. E.A. Halling. Now, he is a school board officer whose house overlooks the back of the Greenwood home. Now, Mr. Halling tells that he has heard someone rush past his front door around the same sort of time and then apparently splash through a deep clay pit that sat across the road. So someone has run and then run across this muddy clay waterlogged area.
I love in the olden times how everyone was listening to people's footsteps.
Absolutely nothing else to do.
Pressed against the wall
There's
for
no
any
telly or
entertainment.
Netflix or Spotify or anything like that, is there?
You were just like, okay, let's just spend a lovely night, people, at the
Just
wall.
staring out the window going,
Children, let's press our ears against the wall. Perhaps someone will run by.
someone might get murdered tonight, let's find out.
Yeah, that guy was in his element. He was like,
Yeah.
finally.
Absolutely. He's loving it. So he has gone to investigate this rushing and this splashing and things like that. And when he has done that, he has heard the cries from Mary Ann, murder. So police think, well, has the killer escaped through the Greenwood's back door? He's gone out the kitchen door and waded through the water, through these clay pits, past Mr. Halling's house. Has that been the escape route? Now, it is clear to Superintendent Beck that the letter from W. Wilson has been intended to lure Richard Greenwood away from the house, leaving Sarah Jane Roberts alone with the ailing Mary Ann. But had the letter been pushed under the door by a burglar? Had Sarah Jane left it there herself, potentially? Maybe intending to see an admirer behind the back, trying to get her boss out of the house? It was a thought.
A liaison gone wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. That people thought, well, had she perhaps allowed a burglar friend into the house and then it had gone horribly, horribly wrong. Someone to steal all the shiny things. She certainly seemed to have known her attacker.
Because it was such a quiet entrance.
It was a quiet. There was a knock on the door. She went to the door, invited the person in. They went to the kitchen. You wouldn't do that with a stranger, with someone you didn't know.
No, they were invited in, and she did not alert the mistress of the house.
Absolutely. So
No.
it was
someone she knew or someone she trusted.
Absolutely.
At least.
Yes, indeed. So so that exactly is the thinking. Now, Richard and Mary Ann, they are adamant that Sarah Jane would have had nothing to do with such a horrid scheme if she had let a burglar in with the intention of robbing the house or something like that. No, she would never have done such a thing. She had always been incredibly trustworthy. She had been there 2 years prior to this.
She did a good innings.
Absolutely.
She had a good income on the way to her.
Yeah, she had no reason to try and
why mess it up?
do anything like this. And also, they said, well, that she had no interest really. She had no male friends that they knew about, no admirers, no secret lovers that she would want to let in the house or anything like that.
The thing about secret lovers is you don't tell your employer.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't just say, well, she never had a secret lover or any liaison. Like, yeah, that's the first thing I'm going to tell the people I work for. Here's who I'm shagging.
Yeah, but they say no. That was not in her character to be like that. She was entirely loyal
She's
to
a
her
lady.
employers. It was entirely inconceivable to them that they would have let
That she had
that
a
she would
private
have
life.
let someone like that enter their house.
They don't want to believe that she was in cahoots with a burglar.
Exactly.
But then did she let someone in who she trusted?
Who took advantage
innocently? Yes.
of that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is indeed a possibility. Now, unsurprisingly, there is a huge amount of gossip in Harfrey about who had murdered the poor servant girl. What awful mess had she got herself mixed up in all this?
The lower classes will take the brunt.
Now, some said that Richard Greenwood, he had been very close with the servant. He had been very close. Maybe showed her too much attention, too much affection.
He's
Had
70.
she rebuffed his advances, and he, in a furious rage, struck her down. The letter was a ruse for
give him an alibi.
to give him an alibi.
I mean, it's happened before.
Yeah, the police said no. No, Richard's been in the pub. He was absolutely in the pub.
Seen.
He's got loads of people being in the pub. He's got a perfect alibi. He's in the 3 tons.
Richard had a twin.
Plus, there was no evidence. There was no rumours, no gossip of any sort of affair before she died.
Yeah.
After she died, oh yes, all over the place he was. Couldn't keep her hands off her. Before that, no one had said anything. So
make him sound like an octopus.
yeah. So people go, no, it's not that.
No.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
But then what about Mr. Cooper? People said. Mr. Cooper, the business partner who came to visit.
He did.
It must have been him. He had been at the door when the note was found, when the letter was discovered. Had he left it on the door before he had knocked? And they said, oh, look, there's a note for you there.
That's great. That's a great bit of acting there, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Hello, I've come by to talk about... Oh, no, there's a note.
Look, a note.
And it's strange the person hand-delivered it without a stamp. I shall be on my way now.
Yeah. Had he dropped it there to get his business partner out of the house so he could have his wicked way with the servant girl? Absolutely. Other people said, no, he couldn't. He had an alibi. He's got a perfectly good alibi.
Oh, does he?
He's living elsewhere at the time.
Yeah.
No, it's not him at all.
Okay.
Stop making stuff up. Come on, Sinead, stop making up these lies about people.
Oh, I don't know. It's quite a compelling story. Alibis can be pulled apart, I tell you.
Yeah, now, the police received several anonymous letters claiming, I know exactly who the murderer is. Absolutely. It was the milkman. Mr. Partington, the milkman. It was him. Never liked him. Dead behind the eyes, Mr. Partington. He was a right wronger. Always chatting with Sarah Jane, he was, dropping off the milk. Making milky comments. Is like... No.
Mr. Partington.
Mr. Partington, the milkman.
He was turning up going, oh, I've got 2 big pints for you. So, well, I don't know how I made that sexual,
Yeah,
but
I know,
still.
but you managed, didn't you?
Can I churn your butter?
So, please go... No, Mr. Partington. You leave Mr. Partington alone. He was on his rounds the other side of town at this time.
Shagging all the
Loads of people have
housewives.
seen him. Nothing to do. You leave Mr. Partington alone.
Leave him alone. He's got a good thing going on there.
Absolutely.
He loves his cows a little too much, actually.
He's a lovely, lovely man.
Milky. No, it's him. It's him, Nick. It's him. I am convinced.
Another letter is sent into the Newcastle Daily Chronicle, again claiming
Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle Daily Chronicle.
Why?
See, this has gone nationwide.
Oh, okay.
The murder of Sarah Jane Roberts isn't. Yeah, it's big news.
Right,
Absolutely.
the Times, mate. The Times.
But someone has written into the Newcastle Daily Chronicle,
Nice.
again claiming, I know the identity of the killer. I know who did it.
Brilliant.
I can't tell you who did it because I've been in trouble with the police myself.
Oh.
So I can't tell you who did it.
Okay.
But I know who did it.
But you do.
But I can't tell you.
You can't tell it. Is he drinking a pint of milk? Once? Okay, compelling.
Yeah.
I am a criminal. I'm in trouble with the law. I know who did it, but I can't tell you who did it. But I definitely know.
Yeah, I definitely know.
Is he a psychic
But I
as
can't
well? I will tell your fortune. I know that there's something going on.
Yeah. The coroner's inquest on Sarah Jane Roberts returns a verdict of murder against some person or persons unknown.
Oh.
Sarah Jane Roberts was buried at Christ Church on the 10th of January 1880, 3 days after she has been murdered.
Oh, okay, it was quick, actually.
It's speedy.
That is
Absolutely.
speedy.
3 days
Lovely.
after. Time for a drink.
Is it time for a drink?
Time for a drink.
Oh, I think it
I
is.
have another time for a drink.
No, it's time for a drink. Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, we have our drinks.
We do. Hooray!
Sarah Jane is in the ground.
She's in the ground.
Uh,
Now, Richard Greenwood, he had insisted on paying for all the funeral expenses of that. He was devastated about the loss of his delightful servant. And
As
so-
you have said, she
Yeah.
was like family.
Absolutely.
And that's good of him.
So he was there at the funeral alongside Sarah Jane's brothers and sisters, and her mother, Elizabeth, had come over from Wales to attend the funeral. At the end of the service, just before the coffin is closed and she's put into the ground, a Manchester photographer, a chap called James Mudd, had arranged to take several photographs of Sarah Jane, hoping it might jog someone's memory or some such. Put it in the paper.
Oh,
Have
okay.
you seen this woman? Did you see what happened? Type thing.
Oh, I thought they might be doing the death photos.
No. I think this was meant to be as a help wanted type. Not help wanted, but as a
Help. Come work for this corpse.
Yeah. This person is dead. Did you see anything? Type thing.
I mean, lovely.
Yeah.
Love the 1800s. And said, here is a corpse in a coffin.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
Do you know who killed this person?
Here's a dead body.
James, he was getting in there with his camera, getting some pictures. And he decided he took several very, very close-up particular pictures of her face.
Yeah, as you would.
And as he would. And he went very, very close up into her eyes and took several close-up pictures before being ushered away.
Eyes, you say?
Eyes. Now, Superintendent Bent, who is present at the funeral, takes note of James Mudd's close-ups of the eyes, and he has an idea.
Okay.
He's read something, and he orders magnifications of the photographs to be produced. If they are examined closely enough, he thinks,
Right.
perhaps they will see the face of the killer
No.
in her eyes.
It crossed my mind. It crossed my mind. I was like, "There's no way that Nick's going to say that. There's no. I will not have it said." And yet, I'm so happy that it's
Yes.
been said.
Absolutely.
That they believe that the photograph will capture them at the moment of
At
death.
the moment of death,
the killer preserved in the eye.
absolutely, the last viewings of the victim will catch the killer, and it's preserved in the eyeballs.
And there's something so poetically gothic about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you do take that captured picture of that person who has done the most wrong to you to the other side. But also science.
Also, science. It is a rather seemingly fanciful method for identifying a killer.
Are you going to fucking tell me this works?
This idea is lampooned in the press. As soon as the press get hold of it,
Right.
absolutely ridiculed.
Okay. With good reason. With good reason.
That people would think, that the superintendent would think that such a thing would work.
I mean, everyone had their superstitions.
Absolutely.
And folklore was all you had.
No,
You
indeed.
didn't have
the most
technology.
eminent Dr. Emeris Jones, the honorary surgeon at the Royal Eye Hospital, he is interviewed in the Manchester Times.
Yeah.
And he clearly states that such an idea is quite preposterous, ludicrous.
Fair enough.
The eye should have been removed immediately after death to be within any hope of capturing an image. 3 days? You're mad. Never gonna happen.
No, that didn't happen.
It did happen.
That happened. Oh, mate. Oh, no.
Nonsense.
Oh.
3 days later.
No, it's spoiled. The eye is spoiled. All of its secrets have leaked out into the brain. Well,
No.
they're doing the brain. The brain surgeons. The brain surgeons are doing nothing because their brain surgeons are going, "You're all mental."
You're all mad.
The
No.
dentists are going, "We can tell from the teeth."
The superintendent is quite disappointed as he squints at these magnified images. There is no ghostly image of the killer of Sarah Jane Roberts.
Oh, did he suspect the photographer? Wait a minute, I can see something reflected in the eye. It's a man with a camera.
It's a man
Kill
with a
him.
This is actually
Oh, it's
the
so good.
earliest instance of optography, as it is known, to be recorded in British murder case.
Really?
It's the first time that this has been recorded in a British murder case.
So this is a theory. My understanding was that it existed for many, many years
existed
beforehand.
for many years.
But
Absolutely.
no one
Hundreds
had
of years. The sort of idea that, the eyes are the window to the soul, but more in a sort of metaphysical sort of way, not in the sort of the scientific things behind it.
There still isn't.
Yes, there is.
No, why? How? What? No. No. All right, let's have your science versus actual science.
So the idea is that, the last thing a person sees is imprinted on their retinas before they die. Now, they tried it on Andy Chapman and Mary Jane Kelly. Ripper victims. It didn't work with them either.
Famously.
Unfortunately. So no effect on that. It's a German physiologist, a chap called Wilhelm Kuhn, who actually pioneered real science behind the theory. Mm-hmm. And this is really contemporary with when Superintendent Bent is trying this. Okay. We're talking early 1880s.
Yeah.
He's over in Germany. He has discovered a chemical, a pigment in the eye, and it exists, and it's in the rods of the retina, the back of the eye. You know, you have rods and cones that do light and colour and things like that. So in the rods of the back of your eye, you have this chemical, this pigment, which is now known as rhodopsin, and it is responsible for vision in low light. So if you're in darkness, goes black. As soon as it's exposed to light, the pigment bleaches and it becomes white, and then blah blah blah. And it's a legitimate thing, absolutely works. And he was able to prove through a variety of very animal unfriendly experiments.
Oh god.
He was actually able to take images from the back of eyes that represent the last thing that they saw. And there's actually quite a famous experiment he did with a rabbit. And the image he was able to produce is of the last thing the rabbit saw. But under such strict laboratory conditions that it would never be applicable to a real life situation. So what he was able to do, almost like producing a photograph, he was able to get a photograph from the retina of this rabbit.
Wow.
And the image that was produced was of the last thing. So he got a rabbit.
He got a rabbit.
He got a rabbit.
Oh Jesus!
And the rabbit is held still in a cage, completely stationary. The rabbit is blindfolded for about half an hour or so. So it allows this pigment to build up in the back of the retinas.
Right.
The hood is then lifted, and the rabbit is confronted by a window. It's like quite a gothic window with sashes and things and bars on it for about a few minutes. The rabbit can't move around and look at other things. He's looking at this window. Mm-hmm. The rabbit is then decapitated. Killed quite quickly, the eye removed, and the retina is soaked in a solution of alum, which fixes this pigment into place. And when that is looked, you can see the window. You can see the window in the render, the sort of the sashes and the bars and the wooden frame of the window.
Insane.
You can actually see, and you can find these pictures online.
Wow.
You can see that.
Is that something like when you close your eyes after being exposed to sunlight,
absolutely.
You can still see the shape of something?
Exactly. It's exactly that. But because the rabbit has had his head held still, looking in one place, this is not someone who's moving around or anything like that. It wouldn't work. So it's in such tightly controlled conditions that it does actually work. But it has no application in real life.
No.
Or anything like that. A weird science behind it.
Well, I suppose that has been of centuries of people. If you stare at the sun long enough, you will still see the imprint of it. So there's got to be some logic behind it. But then people took it like, you will see the person who killed you.
People were thinking it would be like a photograph or something. And it's not like that, absolutely.
I know. And you would think a superintendent wouldn't think that.
So perhaps he's read an exciting science journal that's just been published from Germany. He's going, I can use that.
Oh, he's probably so smug thinking that I have solved this. Guys, honestly, listen to this. Now, you've got evidence. You've got hard evidence of fingerprints. No, my friend. I have eyes on the side. Okay, well, I'm mildly swayed.
Yeah. So
I'm mildly swayed to that there's an imprint of light.
There is a thing that happens. It does not help you solve crimes.
No. Also, it requires you to force a person to look at something for a while and then cut their head off. So not progressive,
exactly.
I would say.
And I mean, the doctor in the paper was right. It has to be instant. You can't leave it 3 days. You need the eyes out straight away.
Imagine that doctor at crimes. He gouges your eyes out. No time to grieve, family.
None of that.
Give me their eyes and their head.
Anyway, back to poor old Sarah Jane Roberts.
I like that segue. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We now move to late January 1880. So only a few weeks or so after the murder. The police are not having much luck trying to track down anyone. Two vagabonds, a Robert Heald and a Thomas Laycock, arrive in Plymouth, where they lodge with a Mrs. Spragg. Now,
these are good musical names. Laycock and Mrs. Spragg.
Mrs. Spragg.
Yes.
Now, the pair rarely leave their room, really.
Sexy.
Mrs. Spragg is convinced they're up to no good. Up to no good,
Up
those
to
two.
no good kissing.
She has read all about this murder of Sarah Jane up in Manchester.
Nosy landlady
Yeah.
lover.
And when Robert Hill reveals that he has come from Manchester, well, that proves it. Absolutely. A suspicious-looking northerner must be a murderer. Absolutely. She's convinced she has solved the crime. She goes to the police. I've got the murderer. They're lodging in my house.
Fair
Absolutely. The two men are arrested. And they are taken in for questioning.
And they're going, what's going on?
Slightly flimsy evidence, I have to say, but okay, fair enough. They are arrested. It turns out that the pair are actually hoping to emigrate to Melbourne in Australia. That's why they're down at Plymouth. They are both running away from wives and children that they have left in Manchester.
Oh, together. Oh, the love story that will quite change the
yeah,
ages.
exactly. I mean, in my head, they are running away together. They are escaping for a new life on the other side of the world.
And that's what I said the whole
And
time.
it's-
They've never left their room. They're up there kissing.
It's going to be
and
lovely.
shagging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, I mean, abandoning your family, not
Yeah,
good. But
I mean-
if it is a love that dare not speak its name,
Absolutely. I mean,
and she was a bloody homophobe.
it turns out, yeah, Robert and Thomas, they hadn't killed anyone. They really didn't kill anyone.
You know what they killed? Prejudice.
They are soon released without charge, and Mrs. Spragg is given a sharp dressing down by the police.
Yeah, you
Jumping to
bitch.
conclusions. Not everyone from Manchester is a murderer. I'll have you know, Mrs. Spragg.
But they are gay.
But they are all gay.
It's
We
a
do
wonderful
not
scene.
know what happened with Robert and Thomas. Perhaps they lived happily ever
Oh,
after
no, they
in
went to
Australia.
Melbourne. They went to Melbourne and they had a
Yeah.
happy life.
But they didn't kill Sarah Jane Roberts.
I know.
That
we
we
know.
can be sure of. But who had? If it wasn't them, who was it? What's going on?
Yes.
Now, people are convinced that she must have known her killer.
She
Must have known her killer. She let them into the house. She stayed with them in the kitchen for a good 5 minutes or so, having a chat or whatever. You wouldn't do that with a stranger.
No.
So she must have been having a chat with someone, and this is before the screaming starts. Not just a random burglar or a chance madman who knocked on the door or something like that. You wouldn't let them in for a cup of tea in the kitchen.
Traditionally not.
Yeah, but people still think maybe did she drop the letter herself, as some people have suggested. Perhaps knowing that Richard Greenwood, he would be leaving the house. Marianne, she's invalided, she's upstairs. She's got the house to herself. Can she have some fun? Yeah. Is she going to meet
Is she
someone
gonna
lovely?
have some fun?
Is she going to have some fun? No one's going to be there.
Absolutely.
It seems quite a risk, though. I mean, Richard could return at any minute.
Well, I'd say servants of that time, elderly couple, she was probably having a lot of fun without them knowing.
Well, yeah, maybe so. But
And someone coming to the front door. If you're going to have some fun and you're a servant, someone's going to come to the
it's
back
around the back.
door.
It's around the back.
I mean, and in more ways than one. But I don't want to say it. They're going to
come to the back door.
They're going to come to the servants' entrance.
Quite.
That's another way. But there would be a more secret liaison than anyone coming to the front door. Anyone who knocks on the front door is someone with status.
Yes, absolutely.
And they would have to open it and let them in. And this is someone she trusted to go, okay, or someone known in the neighbourhood, someone not of nobility, because they would not go into the kitchen, but maybe a service person, but who was able to come calling
Yes, absolutely.
and go into the kitchen.
It was confirmed during the post-mortem that Sarah Jane had died a virgin.
Good.
And had
Good.
not
Good.
been, yes, so had not been, but had not had any previous experience with men, and had not obviously been attacked, been sexually assaulted
Yes, good.
during that incident. So yeah, so the possibility of her
Having a liaison.
sneaking a lover in or something like that seems somewhat far-fetched, potentially. But then other people think, well, had she let in a burglar? Did she know some wrong-uns who had persuaded her somehow to let them in so they could rob the place while the boss was out, or something like
maybe.
that? And then it went
And
horribly
said,
wrong.
Come through the front door.
Come
no
through
one
the
will
front.
suspect you.
No one's going to suspect. I can let you in. You can rob the place.
And
no
then
one's going to be
she's
any the
been-
wiser.
She's been killed, so she doesn't get a share,
Absolutely. Something
or
like that.
to give them away.
Yeah. So something has gone awry there. But then nothing is missing in the house.
Yes.
There is nothing as missing in the house. There are, when she's found, there are some coins in the kitchen just on the side. There's valuable silverware and all these things that are in the kitchen. Even if you hadn't meant to murder someone, if you had, would you not grab some stuff?
Exactly.
Before you make your escape?
Burglary doesn't seem to be the cause.
Doesn't seem to be the motive.
What is it about Sarah Jane?
We don't know.
What is it about her?
Oh no, we don't know. Oh, we don't know. The months go on. Memory and interest fades. Really, the police move on to other, more solvable cases. The murder of Sarah Jane Roberts joins the pile of unsolved crimes that are sort of quietly forgotten about and pushed to the side. A year later, in February 1881, Edward Lynch, a soldier in the 4th King's Own Regiment stationed in Calcutta, he confesses to the murder. It was me, he says. He sobers up. No, it wasn't me. Had nothing to do with it, mate.
Okay.
And then people check and go, you weren't even in the country. It really wasn't you. Why would you confess to murdering someone
I just
when you
want
were pissed?
people to think I'm fancy.
Yeah. June 1882, a 33-year-old Manchester man, a William Nightingale Thomas, turns himself in and confesses to the murder. He's blind drunk. He cannot remember the name of the woman he is supposed to have killed. He's taken into police custody, but he is soon proven that, no, you did not kill this woman. Why did you confess, you crazy man? And he is released. No one has ever been identified as Sarah Jane's killer. There was never any particularly good suspects to begin with. Now, the Greenwood's house is long gone. The church remains, and the monument to Sarah Jane Roberts still stands in the churchyard. The inscription says, in the memory of Sarah Jane Roberts, daughter of Hugh and Elizabeth Roberts of Merlin's Cross in the parish of St Michael's, Pembroke, born March 1st, 1862, met with her death by unknown hand, January 7th, 1880. Da-da-da. And we still don't know
What happened to Sarah?
to Sarah Jane.
Oh, what a mystery.
Mystery.
Oh, I like that. That's a country house murder. We need Marple on the case. Well, we need Poirot.
We do not know.
We don't know. As I said, she had to be someone she trusted. So it was either someone she was in cahoots with. But if it was a burglar, why wouldn't they grab whatever they could get?
Well, exactly.
So I don't believe she was in on it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Someone coming to the front of the house had to be trusted.
I'm thinking, is it someone who comes to the house and says, I'm a police officer, I'm such and such a person, I'm respectable, I need to see Mr. Greenwood. Oh, he's not here at the moment, he'll be back shortly, I'll wait.
If you wait,
type thing.
You wait in the drawing room.
Well,
you wait in the drawing room. Weirdly, the only people coming back to the kitchen usually is a policeman or a labourer.
Yes.
And a labourer would never knock on the front door. They would never knock on the front door. They'd be sent round the back. They would actually purposefully, like, you knock on the front door, like, go to the back entrance, you're not coming in here. So it had to, or a doctor.
Yeah,
doctor.
Someone of status.
Someone
who is comfortable and someone who's trustworthy, who Sarah Jane will let in without question.
Oh, I'm off on one here now.
Go for it.
But I reckon something. I have no evidence, but I reckon something. It's someone who's come to the house who's interested in her, interested in Sarah Jane, has hoped to have a dalliance with her. She's rejected, and they become more frustrated, and they turn up at the front door, and they've left the letter. Because, of course, they've been there before to get the master of the house out of the way, knowing the old woman is invalid. She is like, oh, okay, you've been here many times before. Come into the house. And he follows her into the kitchen. She's like, okay, fine, sit down. And he kills her in a blind rage.
Try something. Doesn't work.
Kills her because she's screaming. And then he kills her. So I think it's someone who is welcome in the house and has killed her.
Someone she knows but doesn't suspect.
Yeah, because it's a good one because of all of the positioning of people. Because there's nothing stolen. Oh, it's good. I think
you might be on something there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like it. But also the eyes have it.
The eyes, most certainly the eyes.
Oh, I'm that's so good to hear the history of it. Because again, I'm like, no, that never happened. But there's actual scientific.
I'm going to go off on a slight other tangent as well. I know we're running, but there was another case. I think in the early 1900s of a French criminal whose eyes were taken after his execution. They did the same sort of procedure with trying to fix the image of the last thing he saw, and you can find it online. It is this sort of, it's a very sort of geometric shape, and maybe if we can, we'll put it in the episode,
Yes,
or something
absolutely.
like that. And from the look of it, it's sort of like a curved, it's a rectangle with a curved bottom and a sort of staggered top. I'm not describing it very well. You'll see the picture. We'll put it out.
If we can't do it on social, we'll do it on Patreon, but we'll try and do it.
We'll get the image out there. You can find it online, absolutely. Yeah. And so many people think, oh, it's the blade of the guillotine that's come down. And then other people think, because it's got this sort of like step-like thing, people think it's the steps up to the guillotine. So there's multiple interpretations of this is apparently the last thing that this guillotined criminal saw, but it's so open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Could be bollocks.
Well, I mean, the people who listen to this, doctors, surgeons, we know that you are out there. Please weigh in with your scientific interpretation of it. There is no founding in that the visage of the killer would be caught in your eye. No, but shapes, the last imprint clearly will be. But what do you think, people? people with medical training, please weigh in and go like, can we solve crimes with this? And also, this is a nice thing, but no.
Because also my medical training has been on Google.
My medical training is based on my mother, who is a nurse and very, very good theatre sister and seen all sorts of things. And she would watch certain crime shows and watch certain films and go, that wouldn't happen.
No.
That's absolute bollocks. That's absolute bollocks. No, that can happen. That can happen. There it is. And it was like, I remember showing her Face Off. She loved that. What do you think otherwise? What do you think happened to Sarah Jane? Do we think it's an inside job with the family? Do we think it's very convenient that they were saying how much they loved her and the husband was out and the mother was there and she's an invalid?
He's 70.
Oh,
she's
in
her 70s. There, he's got a watertight alibi that he was in the pub.
Is she quite strong?
I mean,
Is she playing the invalid card?
Playing the invalid.
Agatha Christie.
Perhaps she was. Yeah, she's absolutely been perfectly healthy all along.
Oh, we've seen it. We've seen it in Agatha, and she's got to got it from somewhere. We've got to. She was a vicious woman, and she got back in her wheelchair, going. So isn't that?
Maybe,
I'm taking it on a tangent. Was it the family? Did they know something? Did Sarah Jane know her attacker in a romantic way or in a conspiratorial way? Or was it someone who was known to the house and was invited in? Is there something that we have missed? Please weigh in on the comments of wherever you listen to this episode. Please jump on social media. We are predominantly on Instagram, so please leave us messages there. If you don't want to leave messages on Instagram, you can email us or you can leave messages on Facebook or Twitter if you're on there as well. We are starting slowly our TikTok.
Sinead is starting slowly on the TikTok.
Definitely all me. And I have a separate one as well. Everyone follow me. Don't worry, I'll put all the stuff.
Beat me into doing something at some point.
When I say beat you doing into something, you will basically be there front and centre,
yes.
swilling
it's
in
me.
a groaning.
La 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 la. I'm a tree.
People, if you want to see more of us on TikTok, you need to be commenting on liking and saying, do it now, because otherwise Nick won't do it. But tell us what you think of this story. Please follow us on Patreon if you haven't already. And thank you to everyone who has joined us on Patreon recently. We do a new episode every single week and we have lots of extra bonus material. So when you join us, you can weigh in and say what you want to hear from us on Patreon exclusively for you. And also we're coming closer to the end of season 3.
We are.
Start of season 4, but we want to know what you'd like to hear from us in season 4. We're going to continue the same format, but can we do anything a bit different? Is there something we could do that would really tickle your fancy? Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisoner's Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.
Bye-bye.